I took this builder grade cabinet from plain to custom. The first step was to measure the width of my cabinet door opening with the slides in place. Then I cut down the 1x8 to the width and depth that I needed for my cabinet. I put these together into a box shape using just some L brackets. It was really quick and easy to do. Once I had the box built, I ended up taking a piece of plywood and marking it, cutting it, and adding it to the bottom. This way I had a fully formed box. After that, I removed the cabinet door and got rid of the hinges and hardware that were there. I attached my drawer slides, making sure that they would be able to slide in and out of the cabinet door easily. Then I attached the other piece of the drawer slide to the box itself. The next step was to place the box onto the slides and make sure that everything was moving smoothly. Once that was all in place, I took more L brackets and added them to the box so that then I could attach the door. Once the door was added and secure, it was time to add the handle. I created some pilot holes and then added my handle at the top of the door. Now I could pull the cabinet open using this top handle, and I could add a trash can inside the bin that I had created. This way I took just a simple cabinet and I modified it so that it's now a pull-out trash bin. I love how easy and inexpensive it was to customize this cabinet and make it much more functional.
Run down to the hardware store and grab a stick of oak. This is a 1x2 by 9 foot long. Also going to get some of these command hooks. They're great and non-permanent. I have this end piece on my cabinet on the top and the bottom, and I know there's something I can do with it. First thing I'm going to do is measure my cabinets, and I'm going to make a couple of marks at 31 inches. I'm going to cut 2 of these boards at this size. If I need to go ahead and sand the edges, I'll do that. The next 2 are going to be the top cuts, and those are going to be cut at 20 inches and 3/4. I'm going to go ahead and join those up, but first I'm going to put some glue on the end. That's going to make this joint super strong. So all it takes is a little glue on the end, and then I'm going to use some brad nails. 2 of those inside will work just fine. Once I get those all done, it's a strong joint. No worries about it breaking. And I'm going to size up all 4 of them. I'm going to put a railing down the middle. I did run out of oak, so I had to use some pine wood. Once I get that done, I'm going to go up about 5.5 inches and measure across because I'm going to put a railing on. Again, I had to use some pine wood for this. And once I get that on, it just takes 1 brad nail on each side to hold it together. Now, once I got those on and it's super strong, I need to use some pre-stained wood conditioner. When you're using pine, it's a soft wood, unlike oak, which is a hardwood. When I go to stain the pine, it's going to be all blotchy. So only on the pine do I need to take this pre-stain and put it on. It doesn't take much, just 1 little dip was able to do the whole thing. Let this dry about 30 minutes and then come back and we're going to stain it. Now, my cabinets had kind of an orangey color to it, so I went with a maple look. I could have gone with pecan, but maple seems to be the closest match. I'm going to cover all the sides of the boards, make sure I get the oak and the pine and all the ends. Now it's time to hook it up, put it together. Look at that color, it matches pretty good. I'm going to use just a few of those brad nails that go through the boards and into the cabinets, and it's going to hold it on. Once I get all of those on and it's ready and adhered nice, I'm going to take those command strips. They're easy to use. You just got to peel off the back on one, put it on the hook, and then make sure it's nice and secure, and then peel off the other edge. Then you can take it and put it on the cabinet. I'm going to go ahead and put 2 of these on, and they're actually really great. They stick good. They're also removable and not permanent. Now take your family cookbook or any book that you like, put it in there. I'm going to use some of those oven mitts. That's what that railing was all about. And then I'm going to use those command strips and hooks to put on some of the utensils that I use the most. And I tell you what, this thing turned out so well, and the color matched so good, it almost looks like it was built in. I think it turned out great, and I'm actually really happy with it. I hope you enjoyed this project as much as I did making it.
I recently moved into a new property, and sadly, some of the kitchen drawers and cupboards have definitely seen better days. So the first thing I need to do is remove the handles and the front of these drawers. These drawer fronts definitely need a good cleaning. So I'm gonna do this and then we can move on to the next step. So now that I have all of the drawer fronts removed, it is time to do the same thing with the cupboards. Next, I'm going to unroll my blackboard sticker with the blackboard part facing down for now. Now I'm gonna grab my first cupboard door and lay it on top of my unrolled sticker. So you can see here on one side, I have it pretty much lined up right at the edge of my blackboard paper. And then down here on the front edge, I can see exactly where I need to trim it off. And I can also use the straight edge of the cupboard door itself to trim off that excess. So because the top and bottom of my cupboard doors are so damaged, I'm actually going to be wrapping my chalkboard sticker paper all the way around my cupboards in the hopes that it's going to cover all of this up. So I now have my cupboard door face down on my sticker paper, so I can start with sticking down the part on the back. And I always like to use a kind of soft-sided little book to help to stick down my sticky papers and get rid of air bubbles. I just find it works a lot better and it's a lot gentler than using a plastic tool like a plastic scraper or a bank card. If you are working on a surface that isn't totally straight or is quite damaged like this cupboard door, then make sure you have a pin handy, as you can easily just poke a hole in these tiny little air bubbles that sometimes appear. Just poke a few holes and use your book and all of the air will come out of the holes and you'll have a nice flat surface. And now I'm going to go repeat that whole process with the front of my drawers. So now that I have all of my drawer fronts covered, I can go put everything back up. How amazing does that look? That is such an improvement. I am so pleased with the results. You cannot see any of those damaged areas. It looks great with the black and white tiles as well as the black and white backsplash there. Wow. This took, not very long at all. Plus, it only cost about $4 worth of the chalkboard sticky paper. So that is fantastic. But the rest of the cupboards look pretty good. There are just some little areas that have little ding marks like this, which probably can be covered up with just a touch of paint. But what I was thinking was how nice it would look if these handles were actually black. So the very first thing we're going to do, of course, is remove all of the handles. I always like to keep an old Tupperware handy, and then I can put all of the screws in it so I can be sure I don't lose any. Whenever I'm painting drawer or cupboard handles, I always screw them onto a scrap piece of cardboard, and then this way they stay put, they do not blow over outside. So because these handles are plastic and they've definitely seen some better days, I've decided to try this Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch, which apparently is for plastic. So it will be very interesting to see if this is actually going to do the job and not flake off. Ta-da! How much nicer do all of those handles look? I am so incredibly pleased with this result. I mean, best of all, though, has to be my cupboards and drawers here. They just look so much nicer. And best of all, it is a blackboard. So we can put our favorite quote to let the kiddo loose with drawings. And I am so pleased with this. And again, the entire project, including the spray paint, cost me less than $15.
In this week's video, we're going to be making basically a box that hides a trash can.
The sides of the box are made up of glued up panels. These consist of a section of 1x12 pine board and 2-inch strips from a 1x6 pine board. A good idea here would be to add about 3 inches to that length you get to account for the tilt of the door. 2 panels were glued up for this, and another was glued up off camera that will eventually serve as the bottom of the inner compartment that the can sits on. We cleaned it up with a chisel and then ripped down the panel to the final width. 2 more strips are cut from the 1x6. These were 1 inch wide for the top and 2 inches wide for the bottom and were attached using glue and brad nails. Again, the length of these will depend on the overall width of what you need for your trash can. 2 more pieces were cut from the remaining sections of wood. These were measured as we went and are cut so that they are flush with the outside edges and so the front hangs over an inch or so. We ripped down 2 pieces that were 3/4 of an inch wide and attached them to the front to finish off the face frame. This brought everything out flush to the front and will give the door a nice frame once it is made and installed. 2 more pieces were measured and cut for the bottom support blocks. They sit flush with the top of the bottom portion of the face frame. These are in place to support the weight of the compartment that will hold the can, and it prevents it from tipping in too far. We wanted to leave the back open a bit to let some air move through the cabinet. To do this, we just cut a few pieces of scrap 3/4 inch plywood we had and fit them in at the top and bottom, leaving a good sized gap in the middle. This also made the cabinet extremely rigid. The cabinet door, or front of the compartment rather, is just a simple butt joint frame assembled with pocket screws. This will have to be made to fit inside the front face frame of the cabinet with a 1/16 to 1/8 inch gap all the way around and about a 1/4 inch at the top to account for the hinges that will be on the bottom. Here is where we attach the door frame to the bottom of the compartment. This panel was made during one of the first processes. The angle bracing was cut to fit and everything was made square while assembling. The backing for the door was just a bunch of pieces of ripped off scrap 2x4. They were intentionally cut kind of haphazardly and were not sanded. This gave the door a bit of a rustic, crate-like look to it. Adding the hinges is pretty simple. Just make sure they are spaced properly and set right with the edge of the cabinet frame and the door frame. It may take some trial and error. I know it did for us. We took the whole thing apart for painting, but it attaches again the exact same way. Painting, well, it's just paint. Pretty simple and straightforward. You might want to slap some wood filler in the nail holes, but that's your prerogative. Sanding, that might be something you want to do as well, but again, that's up to you. We did for this project. We did distress the cabinet to give it kind of a worn look. Basically, we just ran 80 grit sandpaper all over the surfaces, and then came back over all the edges and high spots with a lot more pressure. In some spots, you want to get it down to the bare wood to achieve that rustic, distressed look. To add the older age look to it, we went over the whole thing one more time, lightly, with a wire brush. The whole thing was finished with a standard semi-gloss clear coat. The front of the cabinet receives a drawer pull at the top to make it easier to open. Each side of the door receives an eye screw and a length of chain that runs from the door to the inside of the cabinet. This prevents the compartment from falling out all the way and hitting the floor.